A Strange Family by Killgorian. Chapter 1. Ash, tired from a long journey, finally made it back to his hometown, Pallet Town. As he walked down the path to his house and walked through the front door into the living room, he smiled as his mother said her usual greeting whenever he visited home. "How are you doing, Ash? You look a little tired. I think you should rest a bit." His mother, Delia Ketchum, said with a warm smile, getting up from her chair to greet her son. "I'm doing fine, Mom. Yeah, you're right. I'm super tired. I'm gonna go take a nap in my room for a while," Ash said, smiling, happy to see his mother. "Wow, she's looking really good," he thought to himself. He shook his head. "What am I thinking? She's my mom." For she surely was looking good. She was wearing black lace stockings that clung tightly to her thighs and came up to right below her perky ass. On top of those were black boots that stopped just short of her knees. Above those were simple white shorts, cut off so they ended merely centimeters below where her pink slit would be. She was wearing a tight shirt that showed her stomach and the majority of her breasts. In said shirt, her breasts looked far too large to come close to being natural, and they must be breaking many rules of nature by staying up. "Yeah, I'm pretty tired too. How about we go upstairs and we can take a nap in my bed? It's a lot nicer than yours," she said, smiling. As Ash was walking over to the staircase that led up to his room, his mother suddenly walked in front of him and crossed her arms under her breasts, pushing them out even more, with a slight frown on her face. Ash, you're not going anywhere with your clothes looking like that," she said sternly. Ash looked down at his clothes and saw that she was right. His clothes were fading and stained with sweat and dirt. As he looked back up, he noticed that most of the same could be said for his mom. Most of what she was wearing had flour all over it, and he could tell that she hadn't changed clothes for a day or two. "What about you, Mom? You could do for a change too," he said, laughing. She looked herself up and down, then twisted around to look at her behind to check that area of her body too. "Okay, I guess you're right about that one, Ash. Let's go upstairs and throw our clothes in the wash. Then when we can go upstairs and see to that nap," she said with a smile. She grabbed her son by the hand and led him upstairs with a light skip to her step, as Ash watched her ass cheeks jiggle up and down as she went up the stairs. Delia led her son into her room and crossed to the other side of the room, closing the curtains. The only light left in the room was from the dull glow that emanated from the not quite opaque curtains. "Well, let's see about slipping into something more comfortable then," Delia said with a smile as she sat down on the bed and began to unzip her boots. "Oh my God," Ash thought to himself as he, watching his mother, his mouth slightly open in amazement as he watched his mother undressing herself, sliding off her boots and sliding her shorts off of herself, showing a thong from which Ash could slightly see into, seeing his mother's slit. He realized that he was just standing there, so he quickly stripped off his shirt and pants, but then realized that he had nothing to change into. "Hey, Mom, what should I change into? I don't think I have any clothes here that still fit me." "Oh, yeah, well, I forgot about that. I guess you can just take off your boxers there and sleep like that." "Wouldn't that be weird, Mom?" Ash asked her, hoping that she would reassure him as to how it would be okay. "Not really. I've seen you naked plenty of time. If it makes you feel any better, I'll sleep naked too, Ash." "Oh, haha, I guess it's fine then," taking off his pants, turning away from her to hide his swelling boner and his huge smile. Dahlia reached around her back and unhooked her bra and took it off, showing her full, complete breasts to Ash, and it was all that he could do not to stare at them. In an effort to hide his swelling member, he climbed into the bed, covering himself with the blankets. She climbed into bed after him, clad in only her thigh-high stockings. She rested her head on the pillowcase across from Ash and looked into his eyes with a faint smile. "I've missed this, Ash. You and me, just snuggling in bed together." "Well, Mom, we're not exactly snuggling right now. We're just in bed together," Ash said, inching closer to his mother. "Oh, well, I guess we'll have to fix that," she said with a sly smile. She scooted closer to her son so her breasts were pressed up against his side. She brought one of her legs around so it went over his body, bringing her slightly on top of him. Ash couldn't focus on anything other than the fact that her hot pussy was now mere inches away from his growing cock. "Oh, I wish we could be even closer," Delia said, softly patting her son's chest. "Well, I know a way we can be," Ash said. Reaching down, he grabbed his mother's ass cheeks and picked her up slightly, moving her so that she now lied on top of him, straddling his chest, with her pussy lips pushing his cock down onto his chest. Her head rested gently on his chest, her lips mere inches from his own. Her eyes closed, giving him time to look at her without any interference. Nothing could be more perfect than her, he thought to himself as he stared at her. She was now asleep, and her body spread warmth throughout his body. He noticed a strand of hair had fallen down onto her face, and he slightly brushed it away, leaving his hand on her cheek. He brought his other hand back down and rested it gently on her ass cheek and carefully pulled her even closer to him. The tip of his cock was now pushing against the entrance to her tight pussy, but he put no force into putting it into her yet. He leaned his head forward and pulled his mother's face in and gently pressed his lips against hers, caressing her cheek with the hand on her face. Unconsciously she responded to him, slightly kissing back, inching closer and closer to him, crawling along his chest. As she rose, his cock was no longer pressed against his body and was poking her right in her pussy. She came back down and found a large resistance that blocked her. She opened her eyes for the first time and twisted around to see what was blocking her and saw that his cock was firmly pressing into her. Twisting back around, she looked her son in the eyes and gave him a small, sly smile before she slammed her hips down, her pussy lips engulfing his cock. They both closed their eyes and moaned at the feeling, Hash at the feeling of his cock inside his mother's warm, pulsing pussy, and Deli at the feeling of his cock stretching the walls of her pussy. Ash slowly began to push in and out of his mother and watched her face as he did so. Her eyes were closed, biting her bottom lip in an effort to not scream or moan from the touch of her son. He leaned in and began to kiss her again, locking lips with her. As he did so, she melted in his arms, collapsing against him. He leaned up so that he was sitting on the bed, her legs locked around his back, breast squeezing against his chest, as Ash picked up the pace of thrusting into his mother. He kissed her with a renewed ferocity, sliding his tongue into her mouth, fighting against her own tongue, eager to explore the entirety of her being. She began to moan as he kissed her hot cum leaking out of her as Ash pushed further and further into her, into a place where no one had ever reached, except for him, all of those years ago. Go back to that special place, she thought to herself. Go back to that place that we once shared. Her lips parted from his as a flood of his hot cum burst into her, leaking out from her pussy. Her back arched as she looked up to the ceiling, a long, deep moan emanating from her lips. Ash leaned his mother down back on the bed, as his mouth found her breasts. He noisily sucked at both of them, as Delia grabbed a hold of the sweat-soaked bed sheets. Ash gave one last final thrust into his mother before he collapsed, pulling out of her and falling onto the bed beside her. Delia turned herself so that her back was facing Ash as he turned to face, reaching around, grabbing a hold of her breasts as he pulled her in, spooning her. His semi-hard member rubbed in between his mother's pussy lips as they both faded to sleep, locked in each other's embrace. Alright, again, that was A Strange Family, Chapter 1 by Killgorian. All rights go to Killgorian at fanfiction.net. Thank you.